Should you drop out of a PhD program? It seems like blasphemy even to ask the question, but the answer is a lot more nuanced than it might at first seem. Hi, I'm Ryan Sinnett. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned because we're going to be going through this controversial question today. If you were in a PhD program or did a PhD program or maybe know someone who does and talked about it, you probably know that it had a lot more uncertainty than they were expecting in most cases. You know, it took a lot longer than they were expecting. They didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. And maybe they even considered dropping out. Maybe you considered dropping out. Maybe you did drop out. Now, dropping out, obviously, there's a huge stigma attached to dropout, right? But dropping out of a PhD program is totally different than dropping out of university or dropping out of high school. And definitely don't drop out of high school because I don't even think that's legal. In this video, I want to talk about some of the reasons you may consider dropping out of a PhD program. And then I also want to talk about, is it worth it? Should you drop out? Now, when you start asking yourself questions like, should I drop out of my program? Like, that's a pretty serious decision. Obviously, there was some set of circumstances that led you to this point where you're actually even asking this question. And I think the first thing to recognize is that a PhD program can be a long time. But one thing that as humans, one phenomenon that tends to plague most of us is the sunk cost fallacy. And you probably know what that is, but the sunk cost fallacy means that if we've already put in a certain percentage of the effort toward achieving a goal, we tend to not calculate correctly the expectation outcome of, the expected value of achieving that goal given where we are today. We tend to look at it retroactively and ascribe value to the work we've already put in. But that's really not the way to look at it. In my experience, there's several reasons that people get to this point where they're like, oh, geez, I need to drop out. A common one is they get into the program, they start doing the work in the field, and they just don't enjoy it. They realize, oh, I don't really want to do this with my life. I don't want to be an engineer. I want to be an artist. And that obviously isn't a decision that should be made lightly or something that a realization that's likely to come to you just overnight. Although one day, all of the facts may eventually just hit you and it may feel like it hit overnight. Now, if you come to the decision in this way and you realize, hey, okay, well, I've put in 4 years, I have one more to go, but I definitely don't want to do this with my life, then there's really no reason to stick around, right? I mean, that is a perfectly valid reason to drop out of your program. Getting that degree isn't going to get you anything. In fact, it might even make it harder for you to get a job because now you're like, oh, I have a PhD in this program. You could obviously not include that on your resume, but, why spend another year not pursuing what you want to do with your life? Now, another common situation is it's too hard. Maybe you thought, oh, I'm going to be a mathematician. I'm going to go into math. I'm going to study sigma algebras and whatever, all this hard stuff. And then you get in there and you're like, holy crap, I don't really understand this stuff. And I just don't have the focus or interest to put in enough time. I need to switch to something else. Okay. So you can either drop out or maybe you're dropping out of that program and you're moving into another program that suits your needs better or suits your interests better. I've seen this happen. I, have gone to school with people who started in the field I was in and realized I don't really like this exactly. I'm going to change advisors, find a new lab, find something I'm more passionate about. And those people tend to be happy once they've realized that, made that decision, and actually made that change. Now, let's say you do want to stay in your field and you just, it's just taking forever. You don't really know how long it's going to be. You're kind of losing steam. That's not a good position to be in graduate school. Maybe you can go on a 2-week vacation and kind of cleanse your mind and come back and give it another go. But if you really don't think you can get back on the wagon, then, just sticking around, you're probably not even going to ultimately end up earning your degree. They don't just give away PhDs for free. So if that's your situation, if you really can't get your head back in the game, it may be time to drop out. In this case, you actually can calculate your opportunity cost. Maybe you already spent 5 years. Okay, sunk cost, that's irrelevant. But maybe if you really can get your head back in the game, you can graduate in 2 more years. And then you could say, okay, so if I spend 2 years and I spend this much money and I'm not making this much money, the opportunity cost, then I'll earn this much more money in the field, or I'll get to do these things that I wouldn't get to do otherwise. And so you can actually sit down and make a rough estimate at the expected value of finishing graduate school. And if it's not, positive, then drop out. Pretty simple. There's another point I want to address, which is you hear things like, oh, Bill Gates dropped out of college. And, okay, first of all, that doesn't make it a good idea, right? Like, he had a specific set of circumstances. He was one of the first people on computers. He happened to be very lucky that his high school had access to some, mainframe computers when no one else had access, and he was in the right place at the right time. These people that you hear that dropped out that went on to become billionaires, that is not common. Dropping out is not likely going to put you in the same bucket as Bill Gates. You didn't have the same set of circumstances. So don't, and I'll also say, just from a probability standpoint, that is major selection bias, right? That's Bill Gates, but what about all the other people that dropped out that didn't happen to? So don't be fooled by that argument. Dropping out of college, of graduate school, of high school, of anything, not necessarily going to be in your best interest. When you went in, you made a calculation to say, I'm going to go in, with presumably thinking, I'm going to go in, I'm going to finish. Maybe you were like, oh, I just want to learn for a year and then drop out. But you presumably said, I'm going to go in, I'm going to finish because this is going to have a positive return on investment for either my, wealth, the amount of money I make, or maybe my happiness, if there's some ultimately happiness, if there's some other way that you want to attempt to measure that. Now, just in terms of universities, let's say there's 4,000, maybe 4,500 degree granting colleges and universities in the United States. Okay, so I'm going to tell you something alarming, and you may have heard this. Our former United States Secretary of Education, William Bennett, wrote a book called Is College Worth It? And at one point he made this claim, and this was in 2013. And of the 3,500 universities, colleges at the time in the United States, he did a study, he found that only 150 of them had a positive return on investment. Okay? That means if you're in the other 3,350 of those universities, college is actually going to make you poor. That's an alarming finding. Okay, this list starts out like Harvey Mudd, Caltech, MIT, Stanford, Princeton, Harvard, and so on. But, you can look this up. There are a lot of different U.S. News and World probably, or a lot of different sites now publish the 20-year net present value of your degree or 30-year. So you can go and look this up and you can see, is your university on there? And if not, and if, maybe it's not, maybe you should drop out, okay? Maybe you made a mistake going in there. You didn't realize, they told you. The university system obviously has a vested interest in bringing in students and filling the seats. That's how they run their business. That's how they make money. So they definitely don't want you to know if there's going to be a negative return on investment for the money and time you spend going to college. Okay, I just want to wrap this up by saying, let's just say you hit a wall. Okay, something was really hard. I'm going to tell you that perseverance is the thing that will get you the farthest in life. The difference between people who fail and those who succeed is the ones who succeed never quit. Okay? So there's, on the one hand, while you need to make a sane and rational valuation of the time that you've yet to spend, the time necessary to get your degree, and what is the return on investment, and will it be worth it? On the other hand, just because something's hard doesn't mean you should quit. Okay? If you're faced with a difficult problem, just don't give up. Never quit. Try a bunch of different things until you succeed. Okay? And I'm telling you, that is going to be the key to success in life. But don't get fooled by the sunk cost fallacy, and make sure you evaluate things rationally. So you want to balance those two perspectives. So that's the video. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this helpful. If you liked this video, please don't forget to smash the like button below. Leave me some comments. Did I miss anything? What are some other reasons that might make dropping out worth it? Do you think I'm just crazy here? Am I off base? I want to hear about that too. Leave it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe so you see future videos. And if you think this is helpful for anyone, share this video with your friends. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.